Hello and welcome to another episode of Wholala.
Wholala.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Alasdair.
And you're joining us today for a very special episode where we're looking forward to the future, not the past, the future of Doctor Who. And we're going to talk about our theories, thoughts and news for Russell T Davies' second era of Doctor Who.
Yes, this has been a very exciting time to be a Doctor Who fan. I think since September 2021, things have got a little crazy.
I feel like Doctor Who, it's not been as popular recently as it has been in the past. Like when we were really growing up in like the mid-late noughties, it was what everyone was watching, right?
I think that's totally fair. I mean, I still talk to people, can you believe, a lot about Doctor Who, and I ask kind of at what point they stop watching, because a lot of people don't, actively watch Doctor Who anymore, but attempted to come back. And a lot of people say they trailed off kind of at the end of the David Tennant era, which I think was really what a lot of people would call the golden era of Doctor Who.
Of New Who, anyway.
Of New Who. And, after that, a lot of people were kind of gone by the end of, I think, Matt Smith's tenure.
I think that there was kind of two recent generations, so to speak, of Doctor Who. I think a lot of people like us grew up with like Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, and then a whole other group of people were brought in with Matt Smith. I think it really expanded to America. And I do think that, not necessarily through any fault of the production or the actors or anything, but I do think then when Peter Capaldi came in, a lot of viewers sort of started dwindling, and then Jodie Whittaker, and it's not had the same impact, I would say, as it did before.
Yeah, and also I guess I'm talking from the perspective of someone who grew up with Series 1 new on TV. That was my entry point, and I probably am speaking for that group. You're so right. A lot of people entered actually with Matt Smith's era and are more familiar with that.
But I feel like now it's kind of the renaissance of Doctor Who. A lot of people were wondering where the show would go when it was announced that Chris Chibnall would leave. And when Russell T Davies is stepping back into the shoes of showrunner, it's a really exciting time to be a Whovian.
It's a really exciting time, I think, largely because he was known to write so well back then, but he's also had such good work since then.
Oh my god. I mean, we've touched on it before, but like It's a Sin was genuinely one of the best bits of television that I have seen in recent times.
Yeah, It's a Sin, Cucumber, Years and Years.
Banana.
Loads of good stuff. So, really excited to see him come back. And something they talk about a lot is how Russell's got this real vision for the show as being a really broad piece of media, a complete Whoniverse. Lots of spin-off media, going deeper into some of the stuff. I think, imagine, Torchwood, Unit, we have the Sarah Jane Adventures, spin-offs like that, I think are likely to be a possibility again.
I think even before Russell had even joined the show again or actively started trying to get back involved in Doctor Who, he had spoken quite publicly about how he thought that Doctor Who should be more like the Marvel Universe by this point. I do think he'd laid the groundwork for that, because you had Doctor Who as the main show. Within his era, yes, you had Torchwood, you had Sarah Jane Adventures, and he thinks that we should have spin-offs of different companions by this point, and like you said, with Unit, and it literally is an entire universe of content, and he was surprised, I think, that it wasn't more popular than it was. And I do think with him coming back, we should be expecting a lot more spin-offs and expanding of the universe, which is so exciting, I think.
We'll talk about this, but with the Disney Plus deal, for example, I think one of the things he really understands is that to make the show take off in the year 2022, it needs a lot of cash behind it to kind of get in the cast you need, the talent you need, the visual effects you want. All of that needs money behind it. So we'll talk about that and how that's being achieved. So yeah, today we're talking really, I guess, about kind of what we know about the upcoming series, what we're looking forward to seeing, our theories for that, and as well we'd like to talk a bit about what we would do with Doctor Who if we were handed a big fat wad of cash. It won't be that impressive, let me tell you.
Oh, speak for yourself. I think mine would be quite impressive.
I'm trying to be humble as an armchair critic with our USB mic, but you know what? Yeah, let's be ambitious.
Let's go for it, I know.
So set the scene for me, Sam. What journey have we been on as Who fans in the last year?
Yes, so in the last year or so, obviously Chris Chibnall was steering the ship of Doctor Who with Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor, and it was announced on the 29th of July 2021 that both him and Jodie would be stepping down from the show, which left quite a big sort of uncertainty for everyone. No one really knew where the show was going to go then. And on the 24th of September, Russell T Davies announced that he was coming back as the showrunner for the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who, season 14 and beyond. And that was a little bit open-ended for fans. Fans didn't know if he was maybe just coming back for that one series, if they were doing specials with a new Doctor, like what they were going to do. It was quite open-ended.
I remember that announcement coming through, and it almost read like an April Fool's joke.
I don't think I believed it when I first read it.
No, and it has given me, honestly, the most long-term burst of serotonin. My mental health has really done well off the back of Russell T Davies' return. I mean, some mixed responses to it. Some people saying, it's quite alarming that he's coming back. People saw that almost like a last-ditch, desperate attempt to revive the show.
Yeah.
And that really doesn't bode well for the kind of condition it's in as a brand. I think it's super exciting because I think he has the know-how to make Doctor Who very mainstream again, and to give it the kind of the boost it needs.
It was interesting because I did definitely read it at first as maybe the BBC reaching out to him saying, please come back, we need you to steer the ship in a different direction. Whereas hearing more about
away from the iceberg,
before they hit the iceberg, and hearing more about his interviews and such now, it was much more a case, I think, of just him, Catherine Tate and David Tennant during all those watch-alongs they were doing in COVID, just saying, wouldn't it be amazing to do
Wouldn't it be a laugh
one?
to do it again?
Wouldn't be a laugh, even if it was just like a special or like a missed adventure or something. Wouldn't that be a laugh? And he got in touch with the BBC saying, we'd love to do one more. And I think that they already knew that Chris Chibnall was leaving. And I will say it seems quite public knowledge now that I don't know that they would have continued the show, at least how it has been, after Jodie had left, if Russell hadn't reached out. It seemed like the Power of the Doctor was quite open-ended to kind of be put on hiatus. And having Russell come back has meant that the show isn't doing that. Yeah,
it definitely reads that. And I'm sure one day this will all be disclosed, what the kind of true behind-the-scenes story is, because all of this is rumour.
Yeah.
Or a lot of this is. Apart from what Russell said about his intentions coming back.
Yeah.
I don't know how true that feels to me, that this was entirely a one-sided, can I have another go? And them going, sure.
Do you reckon it was more the BBC?
I think
it was them reaching out?
I imagine the truth is somewhere in the middle, where a conversation was had, and I think there was probably a recognition on his part that things weren't looking so funky fresh for the franchise. And I do think the most likely outcome, had he not come back, probably would have been the show on hiatus again.
Yeah.
And I agree that seems to be the way that the ending of The Power of the Doctor is written, is an open-ended regeneration where anyone can step in next, almost when they pick it up a few years in the future.
Well, I remember hearing when they filmed it, they said that Jodie hadn't filmed the regeneration with the upcoming Doctor. She'd filmed it on her own and they were going to add it in after. And I remember thinking that was a bit of a, not a red flag necessarily, but so strange in that that's just not done now. Like the whole time. To be honest, I'm not sure about Christopher Eccleston's regeneration, but I know that at least David Tennant going on was there was always the upcoming Doctor there to film the regeneration.
Yeah, that was strange. So at that point, we didn't really know what we were going to be getting. Information's been coming out kind of as a steady trickle since then, and we now know that we're getting 3 60th anniversary specials through 2023, and at the end of 2023, we're moving into Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor for Series 14.
Now, one thing that I was quite surprised about that they've recently announced is that we're getting 3 specials, and I had kind of assumed that the 3 specials were going to be paced throughout the year. Maybe I was hoping for a Christmas one this year, which we're not getting, but maybe like sort of spring, summer, autumn. But no, it's looking like all 3 of the specials are going to be in November next year, leading into a seasonal special with Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, which I'm assuming and hoping is going to be a Christmas special.
Yes, I think we're going to get the 3 specials around anniversary time, which is November the 23rd. And then we're going to get Ncuti's season starting at Christmas. But it looks like Ncuti will be featuring in the specials.
In the specials, they had the trailer at the end of The Power of the Doctor, like a very brief teaser, and Ncuti was in it. It looked like he was in some like otherworldly limbo space with clouds. I wouldn't be surprised if that's like a red herring and it's a completely different background in the actual episode.
I don't think it's a real background. No, I think that had been blue screened and that was something else that hadn't been finished yet. I think that was just to get in some early footage of him.
Yeah, a lot of people were thinking it's that weird like astral plane that we saw in The Power of the Doctor with the other Doctors, and no, I think it's a complete falsity.
Yeah, I wouldn't read into that at all.
One thing that's actually really interesting that I was reading about with Chris Chibnall's finale with Jodie Whittaker, when he was doing the astral plane with the other Doctors, he'd actually commented on the fact that he didn't want to use any new Who Doctors, and he was quoted in saying, I didn't want to tread on anything that might be happening in the future, which is a lot of fans speculate that we could be having some multi-Doctor episodes coming up.
Right, okay, interesting.
So we have these specials coming up. Should we talk a bit about the cast that are confirmed?
Yeah, let's talk about what we know.
So here we have to distinguish between what we know as fact what is probably going to happen and what is just pure speculation.
Yeah.
So the cast that we know we're getting back, we're getting the 14th Doctor with David Tennant, and we're not really sure why we have the face of the 10th Doctor or what the difference is there, but it is confirmed to be the 14th Doctor. We know we're getting Donna back, which is Donna Temple Noble. She's married now, obviously, at the end of David Tennant's era, with the return of Catherine Tate, which I am so excited about, to have them back together, to have the Doctor and Donna back, even just for a few specials. And it does, at least from filming videos and stuff, seem like she has all of her memories back.
Yeah.
No idea how they're going to deal with that, but I am thrilled.
I don't care. It can be any excuse.
They could literally, Russell could write "It was all a dream."
It was all a dream.
And I would be like, you know what? Fair.
You know what? Fair enough.
With Donna coming back, we also get Donna's family returning. We get Wilfred Mott, played by the late Bernard Cribbins, who I'm so glad that he managed to film those scenes
I'm really
before.
pleased they got those in. I'm really pleased.
We also get the return of Donna's mum, Sylvia Noble, played by Jacqueline King. Slay. Sean Temple, her husband, is back, played by Carrie Collins. Slay. And I was thrilled by this casting announcement that we're going to get to meet Donna's daughter, Rose Temple Noble, played by Yasmin Finney. Slay. Who, of course, rose to fame with the recent Heartstopper series. And you met her, well, not met her, but you saw her recently at Trans Pride.
I didn't meet her. I saw her at Trans Pride, which was really cool. I was there at London Trans Pride anyway. And then it all convened on Soho Square.
Yeah.
And she was there doing a little speech, and she was like, I'm going to be in Doctor Who. Woo. My character is a trans woman called Rose.
Oh my God,
and I was like,
lost their minds.
And it was so cool. Like, it was really, really moving. She's come so far in her career. She's such
quickly too.
And so quickly. She's so young, and she's such a confident, brave speaker in front of a crowd like that. Amazing representation that she's going to be taking a role in the show.
Thrilled to see her in this. We're also getting Neil Patrick Harris in a yet undisclosed role, who a lot of people are assuming is going to be the Celestial Toymaker.
Sure.
I don't want to say that he's confirmed as the Celestial Toymaker, but there have been a lot of posters in the filming leaks about Toymakers, and so a lot of people are thinking that it's going to be going in that direction.
Yes, there's a lot of hints that this is going to be a returning villain from back in day, and it's looking very likely that this is the Celestial Toymaker. Exactly.
And we also have Miriam Margolyes technically coming back to the Whoniverse, although I'm sure she's not playing the same character last time, which was one of the Blatherine and Sarah Jane Adventures. Miriam Margolyes is also confirmed to be in the upcoming 60th specials.
Yes, I want to believe that she is Beep the Meep. So Beep the Meep is a character familiar to Doctor Who magazine readers. I think maybe it only exists as a comic strip.
Yeah, he does. Beep the Meep was first in Doctor Who and the Star Beast from the 1980s. And it was this weird little furry bunny type character. It was like a laugh.
Meant to be really cute, but like insanely sinister, evil character.
Yeah.
A lot of people are sort of like speculating that Miriam Margolyes will be voicing Beep the Meep, which is pretty funny.
I would love that.
Otherwise, now recent theory, now that we've had the casting announcement for the companion, people suggesting this could be the new character Ruby Sunday's grandma. Kind of an icon, if that was possible.
I do think a big thing people are saying with Russell coming back is he really does do fully fleshed like families for the companions. So a lot of people are saying like whoever Ruby's mum is, their grandma, like
that mum,
iconic.
That mum, whoever that mum's gonna be, she's gonna be the one and only potential rival to Jackie Tyler.
Honestly, I can't wait to see it. I don't think anyone could quite rival Jackie Tyler. No one has yet.
You know who is such a good character?
Who?
Amy Pond's mum. Just kidding.
No, you know who was really, really good? Actually, who was really good is Clara's nan, and I am devastated that she had such little screen time, because she actually was good.
One up and done.
Yeah.
Oh, you know who really moved me? Clara's dad.
Oh, which one? Young one or old one?
Yeah. You know the two dads who don't look anything like each other?
And then the one when the Doctor turned up naked and he was like, ooh.
You know all those lines they have? Yeah.
You know what really moved me? The leaf.
Oh,
Clara's life was on a leaf.
I flew into this world on a leaf.
But to bring it back from all that amazing narrative storytelling, talking about Beep the Meep, one thing that people are also thinking is going to be in the series are the Wrath Warriors. So the Wrath Warriors were also in the same comics as Beep the Meep, and their job is kind of to stop the Meeps.
The Meeps? Are they a species called the Meeps?
I think the species is called the Meeps, and there have been leaked photos of aliens that look very similar to these for the specials.
To the Wraths.
And there's also been someone dressed up in a suit that looks very Beep the Meepy, and I would be surprised if it wasn't a CG villain, because it looks real weird.
I was sure the Beep the Meepy was going to be a tiny little CG thing. I didn't think it'd be a human-sized character.
I mean, to be fair, it could be... I've worked on shows before where they have like a stand-in puppet or something for someone that's going to be a CG character, so it could just be a stand-in CG. I would be surprised if it wasn't CG.
I wanted the Beep the Meep in my head, by the way, not a confirmed character, but to be a 1 foot tall...
Do you know what I'm thinking? Right now, Alice is wearing Jigglypuff socks. That's very much the vibe
I was
that I'm
very thinking Jigglypuff voiced by Miriam Margolyes. One of the rumours is that Freema Agyeman could be returning for Series 14.
Oh my god, I wish.
Andy Pryor has done casting for Doctor Who since, I think, 2005. And
oh really? He's done the whole time?
He's done it for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's done it way back since then, but I think he has done it for a long time for Doctor Who.
Certainly since Freema's era.
Yes, and he posted a picture with her on Instagram saying, "We stole Freema official, not giving her back because we love her too much." And Russell commented saying, "We need her back." He also posted to say that he'd had a lovely long evening with Freema with hours of ridiculous chats, which I think is very interesting. And Russell commented on the first post as well to say, "We need her," which is interesting.
I just think it would be perfect. Like, the thing that I love about Martha in Series 4, when she'd already left the show and she wasn't the main companion, is that not all companions need to leave forever, and she can like come back for an episode or two, and it'd be so interesting seeing her alongside a Doctor that's not David Tennant.
Yes, and I think there's a few companion stories that I feel have been pretty fully explored. I really almost feel like Freema Martha is the one I'd most like to see come back. I feel we left her in a little bit of a sad place before. It felt like Martha had to go back to looking after other people, looking after her family who'd been hideously traumatized by the Master, having to kind of escape how in love she was with the Doctor. It was all a very miserable end for Martha, even though she left on her own terms.
And then even like the very last times we saw her, so we obviously saw her leave at the end of Journey's End when she was going with Mickey and Jack sort of said, oh, maybe there's something else you could be doing, leading to like a tease of what she could be doing. And then we kind of got the payoff of that in the End of Time Part 2 when her and Mickey are like freelance fighting aliens. That's something I would love to see. I would love to see Martha freelance shooting aliens, like living by her own rule book and the morality the Doctor gave her, but on her own terms.
Maybe this is kind of what I want to see partially resolved, is that I think for Martha, she was so hardened by her experiences with the Doctor, and she goes straight into UNIT, straight into the military, where a character like Sarah Jane doesn't like UNIT. She thinks they're too military, too guns. She doesn't agree with Torchwood. And I would like to see Martha maybe softened a little from that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that was shown with when she was talking to Donna in Series 4, and she was like, spent the whole time warning her, like, don't get too close to the Doctor.
Yeah.
People will get hurt. Yeah. When she accidentally got taken on that adventure when they met Jenny, she just spent the whole time being like, I don't really want to be here. I need to go home. I need to go home. And then she is willing to do what needs to be done. We saw that with Yostahagen Key. But again, she's hardened to the point where, oh, there's a threat, we can block the Earth.
Yeah.
And the Doctor's kind of like, wait, no, that's not what I meant.
He's like, that's horrible and insane and like not the right thing to do. And yeah, so I didn't love that.
But it took Davros to be like, you made her.
Yeah, Davros was kind of like, take a look, sweetheart. She's a soldier and you made her one. I'd like to see the Doctor apologise to Martha for just being so nasty to her.
He was so mean.
He was so mean.
Oh
like,
my
if you
God.
go back to Series 3, he's actually rude to
When
her.
he's like lying next to her in bed in the Shakespeare episode.
Rose would know what to do.
Rose knows what to do. And then turns
There's
away.
someone staring me right in the face and I can't see it.
It's not you, you ugly mug.
It's not you. Rose would know. It's I know what it's like. It's like when you fancy someone and they don't even know you exist.
And Martha's like, oh.
Jack's like, you too, huh?
Oh my
like,
God.
oh, come on. I'd like to see her and Shooty have a couple of little adventures. Maybe her family's okay now and she's a little more free to do it.
I think she'd be a lot more like the Doctor's equal as well. I think that she holds her ground a lot more.
Yeah, and I also just wonder if... I don't think they'd ever do this, but I wonder if it'd be interesting they're going to have to cover this at some point, is Shooty's Doctor will have to experience the world and time travel differently for being a Black Doctor. And I wonder if that will change how he reflects on his travels with companions like Martha, Bill, and maybe
Ryan.
a little more. Yeah, Ryan. I think, there was something said, which I don't think they'll ever acknowledge, in series 3 when they go back to Elizabethan times, and she says, "Can't exactly walk around like this, can I? I'll get carted off as a slave." And he goes, "Just walk around like you own the place." And it's like,
I was thinking the
can't.
exact same thing. I think that there's been a lot of times that Doctor Who has brushed off racism in stories that you go to the past, and it's also been really heartbreaking to see Freema talk about this quite publicly outside of the narrative of the show and just in the public reaction. And she said that she faced like a horrible amount of racism being the first companion of colour. And I do think obviously we're really lucky that we're getting a lot more companions of colour and a lot more diversity in the show, but I would be really interested, and I kind of hope they deal with this as well, to see Ncuti's experience as a black person as the Doctor, and then reflecting, like you said, on how he might have treated past companions like Martha and Ryan and Bill. And yeah, I think that's a really interesting point.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a bit as well about what we would do with Doctor Who and what we'd like to see from the next series of Doctor Who.
With all that money, Annie.
With all that money. And but let's talk about the money.
Okay.
Let's talk about the money. So there's a rumoured $10 million per episode budget, which I think
it might
is
be more. I think it's like 11.5 or something.
chunky budget.
They got a healthy lump of moolah in the back pocket.
They did. They got some of that mouse dollar. And it's rumoured to be something like, triple what the budget was of the previous?
Ridiculous. I think it was meant to. So obviously Bad Wolf Productions is sort of co-funded by Sony Pictures, and I think originally it was a rumour between £1 to £3 million an episode, and that is now being up to sort of $10-11 million an episode.
Yeah, so a 10 million is pretty huge. I mean, to put that into context, Game of Thrones was running at around 10 million an episode at one
At its
point.
peak, I think it was like series 6 or something.
Right. The Mandalorian is running at about 15 million an episode. WandaVision was running at about 25 million an episode. So just to like put that number into context, what kind of things you could expect for kind of big Marvel Disney projects. A lot of that money is going to be spent on the talent, so that kind of makes sense. God knows where else they put it,
honestly. The shade of it all. But no, I do think that it's insane to think about how it's like, our little Doctor Who show, our little Doctor Who show is now going to have like Marvel movie budget. Like, that's insane to me. I can't wait. I hope so much of it goes on the special effects. I do think, like you said, it means a lot more celebrity guest spots, I think, will be coming in. I think now that we know the casting of the Doctor and the Companion, it's going to be interesting having a bigger budget for special effects, a bigger budget for celebrity guest spots, a bigger budget for just an all-expansive universe. So with all that money, the Doctor Who now has all the Disney money, all the Sony money. If you were given the golden pen and the scroll, and they said, Alasdair, you are now in charge of Doctor Who, you're the showrunner, you're the writer, what are you doing? What are you bringing in?
I'm immediately overwhelmed. What I would love to do, I have always wanted a proper unit spin-off, and that's been kind of wrecked by the interruption they did of like shutting down unit. That always frustrated me. Now I think there is so much fun inside something a little less adult than Torchwood. I have a very specific concept in my head for how my unit TV show would work.
Right.
Now, I'd either like to set this in the 70s and have it be deliberately kind of very analog tech, very kind of almost like base it on the aesthetics of classic Who.
Yeah.
Have it in those kind of like shoddy, like almost school building looking labs.
Would it be set present day?
No. So you could do it back in the 60s and 70s.
That would be sick. Like maybe like just after John Pertwee's Doctor's rejected and left, and it's like you're meeting the unit after he's gone.
So you've got all these like posh accents, you've got super low tech, you've got deliberately kind of almost like slightly janky looking monsters, but like threatening.
Yeah.
And you could have some of that creepy 70s-ness. You know, I don't know how to describe that. That's one concept. Another concept, I mean, you could do these both within the same show, is that you have a present day expansion of the unit thing. So it's, I mean, in the show, at certain points, we've had kind of international bases for UNIT. We've had them set up as this whole military organization. And then later within the show, we have them turn to more of a scientific organization.
Yeah.
I would lean more into this. Science leads. I would have these kind of scientists who work in different parts of the country. You could have some regional base. For my show, we're going to Devon because why not? I think it'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Secret unit base, and then kind
What
of
if it was like an underwater base or something? That,
underwater,
came out,
underground.
With them, not to copyright Mario God's music, dun 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 and dun 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 dun, and it comes out of the water.
I want it to be so Thunderbirds. Okay, that's what I want. And I want it to be like the people who work there, and this is their day job. And I want to go back to that kind of Torchwood, kind of like, I can't tell anyone what I do, no one will believe me. It's so crazy. So that's what I want to expand. And I think this is how I'd go in with this as well. I'd have that as a spin-off piece of media. I would have our future companion from that. So I would have them...
They're introduced in the show, your show.
They're introduced through the show, given a full backstory, and then they, at some point, collide in a kind of... Because this is what you can do, right, in these big finales. Then when you have all these pieces of spin-off media, you can combine them for your finales, and that's when you can have it collide with the Doctor's story, and they're like, you're good, what's your name? It's, one of those. So I'd love that kind of like...
Well, that's really funny that you say that, because that kind of then brings me to my idea of what I would do if I was running the newest series of Doctor Who, like the new series. And it's funny you're talking so much about spin-offs, because I think that the Bannerman Road gang of Sarah Jane Adventures, a whole generation of people grew up watching them at the same sort of age that they were, I think. And I think that their stories, again, due to the nature of the Sarah Jane Adventures ending when it did, are not complete. Specifically, I think Rani and Luke's stories, I think that either of them would make an amazing companion. And we've never seen, I know obviously we're going to see Donna's daughter upcoming, but we've never seen the child of a companion be a full-time companion, and I think it would be really interesting and really good queer representation for Luke to maybe become a full-time companion, or Rani, who obviously returned in the recent audio drama Doctor Redacted. I think that they would make such interesting and compelling villains, and I also think the Trickster from the Sarah Jane Adventures is almost too good of a villain to only have in a spin-off. And I know we had that scene in The Wedding of Sarah Jane where the Doctor met the Trickster, and he comments on the fact he's already met the Trickster's Brigade, the Beetle from Turn Left. The Trickster's Brigade has been something that's been woven into the Doctor's history, and I think that the Trickster could even be like an overarching series villain where they've been pulling the strings the whole time and then they're revealed at the end. And I think the payoff of having it be the Trickster, a villain from the Sarah Jane Adventures, with Sarah Jane's son or one of Sarah Jane's sort of apprentices, I think that would be the most incredible ending of a series where if you're a new viewer to the show, you don't need to know who these people are. It will be reintroduced in the season. But as someone like you or me who've been watching it your whole childhood, I remember watching Sarah Jane during the week and coming in the next day and being like, what do you think is going to happen tomorrow when it's the next part? Like, that would just be the most amazing finale. That or bring back the Rani, and I know that's a whole other thing, but the Rani is a villain from Classic who I want back as well.
I love that. I have to say, the last thing I would do is... forget multi-Doctor stories. Multi-Doctor stories are dead and done. I'm doing multi-companion stories.
You were so happy when the companions came back at the very end.
I loved it. I think it's such a wasted opportunity. I don't know why we keep killing off so many great companions and not just plonking them back on Earth, because I would love to see them team up more than anything. The only way I can describe this is it's going to have the energy of Spider-Verse. Right?
Yes, very
the kind of the chaos of all these different kind of Spider-Men coming together and that kind of energetic soundtrack. It's going to be very that.
Where they all have this tying theme that obviously with Spider-Man there was Spider-Man, but in this they all know the Doctor, but they don't know each other. Yeah. So they're having to learn to work with each other, and I think you've spoken to me about this before off camera, but like
I have such a clear image in my head of how this works.
How they each have a different skill.
More specific than that. So in my vision, the companions, they have to work together with specific skills, but down to the level of crap, like who can fly the TARDIS? And it's well, like River can do it. You have Yaz can do it. You have
Clara can do it.
So someone can do that, and then you have then the next issue. Then it's like, right now, who knows about this planet? And
who knows Morse code? And Martha's like, me.
Yeah, I can do both. Yeah, exactly right. So there's like specific things that every companion has to like do. The way I would also do it is I would have only a number of companions on the screen at any one time. So for whatever reason, all the companions are linked in this story, but there's this kind of almost like glitching effect that happens, like a bit like the console does when it snaps, when there's different companions, when there's different Doctors in the console room, and it glitches, and it can't have like same effects. So you have multiple companions, only maybe 4 at a time, and it glitches in and out of different companions.
Can I tell you what you're describing? You're describing free play on a Lego game where you need to split between different characters to do a different skill.
Yes, except it happens at random without the control. So I'd love to do that. I think next anniversary, ditch multi-Doctor.
Do multi-companion. And this is the thing, I think when Doctor Who's bringing in the kind of money that it has, I just wish I was in the writer's room at the moment.
I know.
Like, the stories that they must have come up with, knowing that they have all of this potential. As a Doctor Who fan, and I'll say this as well, like, just to get, like, not to get serious for 1 second. I do think that in my life, and I can't say for yours, but I'm assuming a lot of people feel the same. I feel like I grew up such a huge Doctor Who fan. Like, I was like the Doctor Who kid. That was my personality. I had all the toys, all the cards, everything. And I kind of reached a point in my adulthood where, and for me it was a real, like, definitive moment. I had to learn to drive when I was 17, and to be able to afford driving lessons, I sold all my Doctor Who stuff. I sold all my action figures, all my books, all my annuals and everything. And it was fine. Like, obviously, grateful now I know how to drive. But in my head, I think subconsciously was like, okay, Doctor Who, we're putting that behind us now. We've grown up now. That's a show for kids. And I really did sort of stop watching it. And I've spoken to you when it became later in Peter Capaldi's era and Jodie Whittaker's era. I really sort of fell off because I was like, you know, you grow up and you charge things behind and that's it. And I think now recently, especially sort of post-COVID, I've kind of allowed myself to fall back into what makes me happy and, like, not have so much shame behind it. And genuinely, Doctor Who is something that has made me happy for so long. And doing this podcast with you and looking onto the things that are going to happen in the future just makes me so happy. And I'm just, like, allowing myself that.
It is such a lovely escapist show. Like, and I think this is how I always say it to people. Doctor Who has got such a perfect concept behind it, in terms of it can go anywhere, do anything, be anyone. And it's like the ultimate escape show, right? Like, there's no serious canon. Anyone can be the Doctor and be the companion. Anything can happen and change and be rewritten. It can go very light and goofy. It can go very dark and scary. It is, in my mind, like, the perfect TV show. So, yeah, I mean, it's natural that you love it.
Yeah, fully. And we really want to know what you would do if you were on a Doctor, or what you think is going to happen in the upcoming seasons. You can reach out to us on Twitter and Instagram, both at Wholala Pod, and let us know what's coming up. But no, thank you for joining us on another episode of Wholala, and we will see you next week.
Thanks. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.